Welcome to the Advanced Podcast. I'm Vikas Pota, and today we turn to Ukraine, where education has become a story of courage and hope. My guest is Zoya Lytvyn, an educator and founder of Osvitoria, one of Ukraine's leading education organizations. In 2017, Zoya launched the Global Teacher Prize in Ukraine, celebrating outstanding teachers and raising the status of the profession. Since the start of the war, she and her team have worked to keep learning alive. Their iLearn platform was recognized amongst the world's top 10 in the Global EdTech Prize, and Can't Wait to Learn, an app that works even during blackouts, received a gold award from the United Nations. Through Osvitoria, more than 120,000 teachers have been trained to help students recover from learning loss. Zoya has also become a global advocate for Ukrainian education, speaking at the World Expo in Osaka, the Japanese Parliament, and the United Nations General Assembly. Named Woman Entrepreneur of the Year by the United Nations, she continues to show how education can endure, adapt, and inspire, even in the hardest of times. I'm honored to welcome Zoya Lytvyn to the Advanced Podcast. Zoya, welcome to the Advanced Podcast. You've dedicated much of your life to transforming education in Ukraine. Can you share your personal journey that led you to create Osvitoria?
Oh, it's a very long journey, frankly speaking. And first of all, let me say that I'm happy to be here with you. And
Pleasure.
For all those years I know you, I really like how you connect amazing people together.
Thank you.
So about my journey, I think my passion for education started long time ago. I was born just a few years before the collapse of the Soviet Union, a few weeks before Chernobyl disaster in Ukraine. And it was a very turbulent time. And my family, my single mother and single grandma, they were raising me in those turbulent times. And they always were telling me, Zoya, we can't leave you much heritage, unfortunately, because world is very uncertain. But one thing we can do for you, and we will do for you, we will make everything possible so that you could have a good education. And it means with a good education, you'll be able to open all the doors in front of you and to be able to achieve what you'd like to achieve. I believed in that, and I always understood the importance of education. So even despite the fact my career started in business, I always was volunteering with some orphans, with deprived children. And when my business company, it was a real estate development company, they told me, would you like to be involved in a project of creating a school? Would you help us with the marketing research? I said, oh, I would love to do it. And I felt in love with that project. And I said, guys, I prefer this work much more than even being a chief marketing officer for your amazing company. So I started working with one school. I wanted to be in charge of that. I wanted to create that school from scratch. And I wanted to create school that brings up children with Ukrainian heart, but also with a global mind. And also in the process, I realized that I don't want to create one innovative, amazing school for 500 children. I want to transform the system of education in my country, but also to empower other educators across the world. And I founded my own NGO with like-minded people to provide access to quality education to teachers and to students, and also to empower and inspire teachers.
And your original vision you've talked about, which came from your own personal growth and awareness about the importance of education and your love for it. But how has that vision evolved since you started?
So first of all, that words of my grandma, they worked well for me. I managed to graduate from school. I managed to receive a scholarship in the best university of Ukraine. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford it. And with that diploma, I had very good offers. But I also volunteered since my first course. I joined organization Youth Can. And I was visiting orphanages with other students. And I remember the moment, because when you're a student, you are not successful enough financially, and we couldn't bring much presents to those orphans, comparing to different companies that would bring them gadgets, toys, sweets. But then I realized how valuable it is for those kids that we spend quality time with them, not even having those presents. And I remember a moment after a month of work with one orphanage, and orphans, they don't like to share, and they have this attitude like everyone owes me, because if they don't have a family, if they grow up in orphanage, that's what they face every day. Someone comes, they bring sweets, they make photos, they publish it, and they have this attitude. And then after a month, that boy gave me a present, a toy. It was a white polar bear by Coca-Cola company, if I'm not mistaken, because they were visiting kids before Christmas, bringing presents, and he was hesitating, looking at that beautiful bear. I could read his mind, and then in the end he said, that's for you. And that was the moment when I realized the power of education and power of the quality time with a child.
Zoya, I'm interested in the state of Ukrainian education. When you began this work, what did you most want to change?
The attitude to school, because school is very important for every family. But I had two goals in my mind. I wanted to advocate the importance of education for decision makers in my country, and to prove them that education is not an expenditure of national budget. It's the most profitable investment country can make in its citizens. So I believe we have quite a good progress here. And the second thing I wanted to achieve is to advocate the modern model of the school that actually prepares children for tomorrow, not for yesterday. And at that moment, as a country, we were in transition, still in transition from the SSR system of education that actually was quite good 60 years ago, but it is not relevant at the moment. And the biggest transition is from knowledge-based school to skills and value-based school. And I also think Ukraine made quite a good progress here with our organization as well.
And, Osvitoria, which is your nonprofit, now influences, national education reform and runs one of Ukraine's leading schools. What have been the biggest levers for impact at scale from your experience?
Oh, well, here I have to mention the project that we did for government. And actually, we are the leading partner of government from private sector. So the first project I'm in love with was the national reform, which is called New Ukrainian School. And government started it 3 years after our school was opened. And Minister of Education came to our school. She said, "Oh my God, I see exactly what I'd like to create. And the biggest obstacle for creating this reform is not money, but expertise and knowledge, how to put it on practice, how to localize all those methodologies in Ukraine." And that's what we already did in our school. And government relied on our experience and those experts that we raised in my school with the help of international experts. They become experts for government. They become teachers for other teachers and trainers. And actually now, 10 years after that moment, this reform is still the best supported reform in Ukrainian society. So I'm proud of that case.
I know that, like me, you also love spotlighting and highlighting greatness and excellence through prizes. Your school was shortlisted in the World's Best School Prizes, as an example, for all the work that you had done to make it such a high performing school. What has been the net result of being a finalist in the World's Best School Prizes for you?
We had a lot of positive attention thanks to the prize. I also would say that we had that prize 2 years after the full-scale invasion in Ukraine, and 2 years living in the war environment is very tiring for people, and I'm wondering how they don't have this burnout. Being a teacher is a very difficult job even in the normal times. But during the war, it 5 times harder. And receiving that prize, it was very inspiring for the teachers of the school, because it's like acknowledgement of, guys, you're really doing great. You're amazing. Just keep going, keep supporting children, keep all those volunteer projects. It works. So it was a portion of support for them.
I remember one of the most memorable things that happened to me when your school was shortlisted in our prizes was you sent me a photo of a bomb literally having fallen outside of the school. And it brought to bear at least this consciousness about just the crises that, millions of children, not just in Ukraine, but around the world, have to go through to make sure they get an education. And I was wondering whether you can say something about the war and education continuity, and you as a leader in the education sector in Ukraine, how you managed and led through that process.
I would say that, our conversation is about leadership. So one of the most important things for a leader is to identify what you are facing, to identify the crisis as a first step. And as a second step, you need to identify what supports you personally. What are your sources of energy and motivation? And it's really important to take care about yourself, like on a plane. First, you have to put mask on yourself and then on a child. And in case of war, it's important to support yourself in order to support others that rely on you properly. In this case, my team of NGO, of the school. And also, when you feel your work is important and supporting people internally displaced, injured, wounded, despite the war, it's people feel that it's very difficult, but they know why it is important. And all that work in first months of the war, my team, we still remember it. And in terms of bombs, so that bomb landing just in front of school, it completely destroyed the art school across the hedge of our school. But unfortunately, it was not the only case. And first, I was collecting the debris of missile that are landing on our schoolyard almost every week, every other day. But now we already have 3 huge bags of those debris, and I don't think it's something we should keep for the history of the school. But I'm sure we will sustain, we will manage, we will turn this trauma in post-traumatic growth for our students. And I'm very optimistic.
I mean, I've known you for a short amount of time. I think it was first during the pandemic that we got into touch with each other, and then during this war. What strikes me is just the resilience that you have shown as an institution and as a leader, as to all these different crises and challenges that face your way, and your commitment to continuing education. Do you want to say a little bit more about the war and what the role of Osvitoria was in ensuring that that education continues?
Oh, plenty of projects, and for the first year as an NGO, we were in this crisis mode, making everything so that education could keep going. and now we are developing. We have strategy, but maybe if we speak about the beginning of the war, the most important project was our all Ukrainian school online. It is the national platform that covers the entire secondary school curriculum, and it brings every child in front of our very best children. And actually, government engaged me and my team to create that platform during the pandemics, but it was so helpful at the first weeks, months of the war. And actually, now we're developing that platform. It is evolving technically and in terms of content, because every crisis is an opportunity. That's an old Chinese expression, but that's an absolute true. And if you are courageous enough to take the leadership role, you can achieve amazing results. So in terms of results, now we have more than 2 million active learners on that platform, students and teachers. And I just had a team meeting in my NGO. So currently our statistics is 4,000 registration per week, new learners. And it means with the help of this practical, amazing tool, we help kids from front lines to keep learning. We help internally displaced kids keep learning, and we help externally displaced kids, which are now outside of Ukraine, to have this bridge with their country and be ready to come back when it's safe enough. So it is a great case when education is not only about knowledge, it's about mental health. And I really believe that in the war, every citizen, unfortunately, has its own front line. Soldiers, teachers, and even students, by continuing to learn, they're also fighting for their future and their right to build it in their own way.
And, during these very stressful times, have there been unexpected sources of hope or innovation that emerge from hardship?
Oh, because I would say about teachers again. On a second week of the war, we had a dialogue with Ukrainian teachers in different chats on our platforms. Like, guys, what do you need? How can we support you? And we thought they will speak about some humanitarian aid, about devices, but teachers said like 90%, we need knowledge. We don't know how to identify trauma. We don't know how to deal with kids with trauma. Please find us the best world psychologists that specialize on that topic. Let us have conversations with them. Let help us to be better teachers for our kids at this time, because we never had situations like that. So that was very hopeful for me. Like, oh my God, you don't know what is going to happen to you tomorrow. You are without light in a bomb shelters, but you want to be better teachers for your kids. So that's when you realize it's no time to panic or lose hope. You just need to cool yourself and work.
As this podcast is focused on high performance, I started this project, as it were, with T4 to think about how we can get more high performing schools in the world. Wherever I traveled to, I'd always go to a great school. I'd always meet a great teacher. And the question really emerged was, why aren't there more? And so I've been asking leaders like yourself in terms of, what does high performance mean in the context of education, for schools, teachers, and students? I'd love a response from you on that.
I think that high performance of the school really depends on high performance of the school leader. I'm sure we can't separate those things together, because if leader is professional and if he or she is a great leader, it means there is a great school team, and we can't achieve anything on our own. We are the people that surround us, and only together with great people we can achieve something great. And that's why some of my projects on empowering teachers, they turned into projects on empowering school leaders. Because again, if teacher is the outlier at the school, he or she is doing amazing job, but school leader is not recognizing it, not supporting, not trying to spread this initiative for other team members, it can demotivate the best teacher in the world. So one of the projects I'm proud of is school for educational leaders. And in a week, we will start new enrollment. And our partner is Cambridge University. And another innovation we have, we're not only inviting now one school leader, principal or vice principal, but we try to invite 2 or 3 school leaders from the school, because only as a team with the same vision, they can achieve amazing results.
When you think about the audience of school leaders or institution leaders around the world that are going to listen to this podcast, I often try to think in terms of asking our guests, what are their top tips for them cultivating high performance habits in themselves? And you've spoken about 3 things, of which the first is around doing what inspires you with those who inspire you. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Well, it's a well-said phrase. I believe in it. And that's my recipe of success. I love working in education because I love empowering others. Either it's beneficiaries of my projects or that's my team. But it is important. You can achieve amazing results only with like-minded people with you. And that's my story of success. But if I could give another advice for high performance, I would give...
Actually, before we do that, do you want to give me an example of someone who inspires you to do better?
Out of my team or...
No, generally, present company excluded, obviously.
Wow. Well, that's a difficult question. I have many people I could learn from. Like when I look at you and your team, I got inspired with this power of connection. I think I used to underestimate how important it is to have a safe space where you can share your leadership challenges and learn that someone was facing them, and those people, they have some recipes, what works, what is not working, and recommendations. I also have a friend with a very similar situation. She's in charge of charter school in Washington, D.C. And she also has her nonprofit to empower teachers, to train the teachers. So I learned some recipes from her. And actually, I have a lot of inspiration from my children. That's not obvious, but when I look at my daughter, she's so optimistic. She believes in herself so much. She believes she can protect me. She can run fast on her tiny feet. She believes that people want the best for others. And she has so much hope and trust for this world that she inspires me.
And when you talk about your 3 lessons, you are about to say a second one, and I stopped you. So do you want to give me that one?
Yes, it is not obvious as well, but living through the war, I think it is very important to have a plan B for a worst case scenario. We don't want to think about it. Sometimes we want to be like an ostrich. And that was me in 20 seconds. I was sure that war is not going to happen. I'm not going to pack my emergency suitcase. And why should I think about plan B? Where would I go? How I would sustain my business? And I really regret it. That's one of my biggest takeaways. Everything can happen. Some awful things that you think absolutely impossible, they really can happen. Anything you're thinking about can happen. So please be prepared for this. Write your plan B, and let's hope you won't need it. But in the times of big crisis, when your brain is not functioning, when you lose your peace of mind, if you have that paper, it makes things much easier. So please do that.
I know that you also have spoken about consistency outperforming motivation. Do you want to drill a little bit deeper into that?
It is a very simple lesson, but with time you lose your motivation because achieving your results, and when we speak about education, results are not coming in a minute. It's a field that gives you amazing results, but in a very long time perspective. That's why education is often underestimated by politicians, because they think in these 4 years or 5 years periods of elections. But no, it's not for education. You will have payback and outcomes from education in 10, 15 years, in those kids that you graduate, in the society they create. So when you don't see that immediate result, you might lose your motivation very soon, in a week or in a month. But if you have a discipline and you know why you're doing it, it is important. So I notice it with my work. I notice it with my kids. I notice it with the children at my school. So discipline is important. Self-discipline is crucial. And it's great to cultivate it in children since primary schools. And I think schools should do that.
And the third lesson or the fourth lesson in this talk and this interview, you know, is something that you've said in the past as well, which is learn from the best. And it seems like such an obvious thing to say, but do you want to elaborate on this point?
Absolutely, because in a modern world, when time is limited, resources are limited, we don't want to invent the wheel. And if you want to create something truly amazing, I think it is important to learn from the best, and it saves you so much time. It helps to prevent so many mistakes. So that's the philosophy that I'm following, and I'm recommending it to other people. Either it's a new project, either it's new field. We really don't want to invent the wheel. So, like, for example, when I was opening the school, country number, like, always in top 5 in terms of education, it was Canada. So why I would make plenty of mistakes, especially why would I experiment on kids when I could make a partnership with Canada and learn from their best teachers and educators? Or when we wanted to create this online platform for Ukrainian government to minimize the educational loss, why would I do it from scratch if I could rely on expertise of Harvard and MIT University or Coursera, for example? So, or even if I have other cases like HR problems. I have an amazing mentor, HR, that always recommends me good recipes and helps me get different perspective on the situation. Or if I'm thinking about creating new educational project, I go to people that already did it, and it's the best recipe.
And how do you personally stay inspired and avoid burnout while leading such mission-driven work, Zoya?
Thanks to my recipe number 1, I do what I believe is really important, and it inspires me, and I surround myself with those people that do inspire me.
That's fantastic to know, Zoya. And Zoya, when you think about, you must have, you're a pretty young lady in the sense of the work that you do and in the sector, and you must have been given so much advice, and you must have taken so much advice, especially during these moments of crisis. You often reach out and ask opinion. What are the 2 or 3 pieces of advice you've been given that have held you really in great shape as you think about yourself, your work, your family, your country?
So maybe I will have to repeat myself, but advice number one that I learned only during the war, it was through Barack Obama's sister. Her name is Maya, and she's an amazing psychologist. So maybe two things. One is it really depends on you as an adult if your kids will have trauma or if they will turn this trauma into post-traumatic growth. We can ensure it happens for the children of Ukraine, and it depends on you. And for this, you need to understand how mental health is functioning. And the second advice I got from her is to actually identify what motivates me, what helps me to recharge my batteries, and make sure that I have those things in my schedule regularly. Because when you're operating in uncertain times of crisis, you often will have some operational things which are urgent and they are important. So if you don't make sure you have this time to recharge the batteries, you won't last long.
Zoya, you're an inspiration for the work that you do and your commitment to the world of education. I have watched from the sidelines and tried to support in many different ways your mission. I believe in you and your work, and I want to say congratulations to all the work that Osvitoria does. You and your colleagues perform a critical role in the education sector. And I want to say thank you for appearing on the Advanced podcast, where I think our listeners would have got inspiration, but also learned, how you think about high performance and how you've kept the good fight going in your country and through your organization for kids who go to schools that deserve just amazing teachers and educators to help them lift the promise of education. Zoya, thank you for appearing on this podcast.
Thank you, Vikas. And I would also thank you because it is important for me and my team to know that educators of the world are standing with us. They are ready to support with their experience and expertise to bring us some inspiration and good words. And I always feel it thanks to you and your community.
That was a really great conversation with Zoya Lytvyn. Her work reminds us that leadership in education is as much about foresight as it is about courage. 3 lessons stood out from our discussion. Firstly, do what inspires you and do it alongside those who inspire you. I think that's a really great message. Second, remember that consistency outperforms motivation. Real progress comes from showing up even when it is difficult. And third, always learn from the best. Seek out those whose experience helps you grow and stay grounded in purpose. Zoya's story captures the strength and creativity that drive education forward, even in the most challenging times. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Advanced Podcast, and to Zoya for sharing her insight and experience. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please follow the podcast on your preferred platform, download the episodes, share it with a friend or colleague, and join us again for the next one.